What else can you do to a US citizen without due process? And then tell us later, oh yeah, it's okay. Can you murder a US citizen without asking a judge and just go, no, trust me. The family wanted it. I took the, a 27-year-old down to Guatemala and I slit his throat. But it's okay, he wanted his throat slit, or he was MS-28 or whatever he was. It's okay, I gave you some BS talking point. Trust me, trust the Israeli government, trust Baghdad Bob. It's okay, no. That's not how our system works.
On Friday, there were 3 American citizen children born here who were deported along with their mothers from Louisiana down to Honduras. And according to advocates, one of them is a 4-year-old child with stage 4 cancer.
We don't deport US citizens.
The mother was deported along with the children.
The children aren't deported. The mother chose to take the children with her. When you enter the country illegally, and you know you're here illegally, and you choose to have your citizen child, that's on you. That's not on this administration. If you choose to put your family in that position, that's on them.
The Trump administration is defending their decision to deport 3 children with US citizenship to Honduras with their mothers, including one child with cancer. The children are from 2 different families who are living in Louisiana. Both families were detained earlier last week during routine check-ins with ICE in New Orleans. They were in the Intensive Supervision Appearance Program, a probationary program that allows people undergoing immigration proceedings to stay in the country. But both the women had reportedly missed one of these check-ins previously, so judges filed deportation orders. On the day they were detained, ICE agents were waiting for them to arrive at their appointment. Lawyers said the families were taken to Alexandria, Louisiana, 3 hours from New Orleans, where they weren't permitted to communicate with legal representatives. The lawyers weren't able to reach their mothers until after they arrived in Honduras. The mother of the 2-year-old is pregnant, and the 4-year-old, a boy, has a rare form of late-stage cancer, the family's lawyers said. They said the boy had no access to his medications or his doctors while he was in custody with his 7-year-old sister and mother. The administration is defending sending these kids to Honduras, claiming the moms requested the children stay with them. But lawyers for both families dispute that, saying the moms weren't given an option to leave their children in the United States. Lawyers representing the father of the 2-year-old US citizen who was deported, identified as VML in court documents, filed an emergency petition in the Western District of Louisiana on Thursday, seeking her release. But the child was put on a plane to Honduras the next morning before the court even opened. Hours after the deportation, US District Judge Terry A. Doughty, a Trump appointee, issued an order expressing his concern that the girl had been deported against her father's wishes, while stressing it is illegal and unconstitutional to deport US citizens. Doughty set a May 16th court hearing to investigate his, quote, strong suspicion that the government just deported a US citizen with no meaningful process, end quote. According to Gracie Willis, one of the lawyers representing the families, another attorney's effort to keep the 4-year-old with cancer in the States were also ignored. Take a look.
That attorney filed what's called an administrative stay of removal, which is a request for ICE to just temporarily halt any deportation in the interest of something happening. And in this case, the lawyer requested the opportunity to file paperwork, complicated paperwork with the court to provide immigration options to the mother, and especially to allow this 4-year-old to continue treatment. The attorney filed paperwork with ICE explaining what this child's medical situation was, explaining the diagnosis, and didn't receive any kind of a response until the family was already on a plane on Friday morning.
Nonetheless, Marco Rubio, like Tom Homan, is denying any wrongdoing. Take a look.
On the headline, that's a misleading headline. Okay, 3 US citizens, ages 4, 7, and 2, were not deported. Their mothers, who are legally in this country, were deported. The children went with their mothers. If those children are US citizens, They can come back into the United States if there's their father or someone here who wants to assume them. But ultimately, who was deported was their mothers who were here illegally. The children just went with their mothers. But it wasn't like, you guys make it sound like ICE agents kicked down the door and grabbed the 2-year-old and threw him on an airplane. That's misleading. That's just not true.
But again, the families and their lawyers dispute the fact that the moms wanted the children to go with them, and they were sent out of the country before the court had a chance to intervene. Jank, what do you make of this story?
Yeah, there's two different things here. Number one, the content of the story. So the Trump administration now puts out statements so absurd. They're in the ballpark of Baghdad Bob, the official Saddam Hussein spokesperson, who would talk about how there were no Americans in Iraq as American tanks were literally rolling behind them on camera, right? And maybe approaching the absurdity of IDF statements. IDF, oh yes, 12 children were killed today in Gaza. No, they were all 87-year-old Hamas leaders. Okay, whatever, man. So now, oh yes, we have a handwritten note from one of the moms in Spanish. Maybe we don't. The other mom we don't have anything on, but trust us, she wanted to take her 4-year-old who has cancer that is metastasized to Honduras instead of continuing to get treatment in America. No, we don't trust you, and that's not what the family says. The family's saying, please bring them back. They didn't even take the medication with them because they didn't know they were gonna get hijacked and kidnapped. They were US citizens. We didn't know that a bunch of thugs were gonna come and take them away without their cancer medication. So, look, man, there's no end to the excuses for people who are in favor of this stuff. So, but guys, the second point is more important. The second point is about due process. So I know some on the right will say, hey, listen, I believe Marco Rubio. Well, good luck with that. I believe Donald Trump. Good luck with that. And Homan and all those guys. And the moms are undocumented and there is a court order. And if she wanted to take the kids, I understand your point on that. But do you understand what US District Judge Dowdy is saying? We didn't go through any procedure here. You tell me, the family's telling me that you deported these American citizens. You're saying no, they left voluntarily. But I never had a hearing. They never had a hearing. So I have no idea who's telling the truth. That's why we do hearings. That's why we have courts. That's why we do due process. And we don't just take your word for it. I mean, Trump's already talked about potentially deporting US citizens to El Salvador. Again, in his mad ramblings, presumably in the same way that he's doing now, without any due process. So what else can you do to a US citizen without due process and then tell us later, oh yeah, it's okay. Can you murder a US citizen without asking a judge and then just go, no, trust me. The family wanted it. I took the, a 27-year-old down to Guatemala and I slit his throat, but it's okay. He wanted his throat slit, or he was MS-28 or whatever he was. It's okay, I gave you some BS talking point. Trust me, trust the Israeli government, trust Baghdad Bob. It's okay, no, that's not how our system works. This is America, we have a constitution, we have due process. Those are the cornerstones of Western civilization, and we don't give those away because there's a madman in office who wants to look like he's tough on immigrants. And if you think, oh, Cenk, you're getting carried away. Now, what kind of absurd hypothetical is this? You bring a 28-year-old down and slit their throat in Guatemala. The 4-year-old in Honduras doesn't have their cancer medication, and it's metastasized. We've been trying to get back, all sane people in America have been trying to, which is now over 70% of Americans want them back. Abrego Garcia, the Trump administration has admitted that it was an error and they won't bring him back. So how long is it gonna take to bring back the 4-year-old US citizen who's a cancer patient and has no medication down there? And what if they die? What if they die? Is MAGA still gonna be flipping about it? Like, yeah, so what, man? That 4-year-old died. Now, by the way, I'm pro-life. And by the way, I love the Constitution, except the Constitution. I hate it, and I don't think we should follow it, and I think we should burn the courts down and the Constitution down. if this is what you think is making America great again, I got bad news for you. The rest of America doesn't agree. It is absurd, it's overreach, it's crazy, it's un-American.
I just want to point out why they were deported. And this was allegedly that they missed a meeting and then they were transferred 3 hours away and weren't permitted to meet with their lawyers. Now that part specifically I want to zero in on because that is not new. That happened under Obama. There were facilities, family detention facilities, which are really just prisons for families who are seeking refuge here as they waited their credible fear interviews as part of the asylum process. And as they were held in these facilities in like Karnes County in Texas along the border, Obama's officials also would not let lawyers meet with these people. So we need to, of course, express outrage over this happening now, but we also need to hold Democratic administrations to the exact same standard. And like Cenk is talking about, we need to think about how we want this country to operate, what we want this country to be, and what we think represents the best of us. And I think many people watching this, it is an inclusive society where we extend rights and liberties to everyone, regardless of documentation or status. That's fair, that's equitable, and that's just. But that also means holding Democratic leaders to account when they're in office and it comes time to extend due process rights to undocumented people under a Democratic administration. And unfortunately, under the Obama administration, that wasn't happening.
Yeah, I'm gonna add one quick thing to that. So this is why we piss off people on both sides. They want rah-rah cheerleaders for one side or the other. Sorry, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna tell you the truth. Barack Obama not only did what Jordan's talking about and deported more people than any other president, but you want to talk about due process, he killed an American citizen without asking any courts, and then his ridiculous Attorney General Eric Holder said that due process is not necessarily a judicial process. Well, that's just absurd, totally, utterly absurd. And we're not calling that out now, we called it out then. And what happened, it wasn't just other Democrats. This is why mainstream media has massive, massive problems. This is why the country hates the establishment so much that they voted for Trump. Because mainstream media, when Trump does it, okay, they're on it. Good, that's a good thing. They should be on it, we're on it, right? When Obama does it, they're like, what? American US citizen, due process, what name so? Deporting 2 million people without doing it the right way, what name so? No, it's beloved Democratic leadership, beloved corporate politicians. They've taken some sort of oath to never ever criticize them. So I'm sick of it. Do real reporting, do real journalism, hold all sides accountable. If you're in media, you're not supposed to kiss up to the powerful. You're supposed to challenge the powerful. I know it's a new concept for them. Both sides should check it out, and most importantly, journalists should check it out. Bring those kids back right away. US citizens, if their family wants them back, bring them back, and most importantly, but you've got to follow due process. If you don't do that, then as Trump would say ironically, then we don't have a country. If we don't have due process, we have a dictatorship and it ain't America, okay? You must check with the courts. That's how it's supposed to work, no matter whether you're a Republican or Democrat. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.